So, number five, if point number four was independent from capital, right, independent from big money, then number five is also independent from the duopoly, from the two-party system, the Democrats and Republicans. And what's important, I think, to note here is that we engage in independent politics as a strategic principle in our fight for the working class, for creating eco-socialism. This isn't just a tactic that we adopt, like, no, maybe if we think it's okay in this election, or oh no, maybe not in this one, we'll support a Democrat, which is what you see from a lot of organizations. That's what they do. They kind of play around with the idea of being independent, but then mostly end up supporting Democrats anyway, and they get absorbed by the Democratic Party. That's not true for us. It's, as a first strategic principle, we have to maintain our independence, our own ballot line, our own candidates. We don't support the Democrats. We don't support the Republicans.
Oh, and just the case for the Independent Left Party was an ebook that we put out during the 2020 presidential campaign. It is super short, right? Like 30 pages. No section is longer than maybe a couple pages, right? So even it's short, it's digestible. It goes through the history of, bottom-up independent parties. It talks about, the memberless parties that we have in the United States.
Yeah.
And that are very different from a lot of other countries, right? But what does it mean to be a member of the Democratic Party? It basically means vote blue no matter who, right? There's no power, there's no bottom-up control. Like I said before, 94% of Democrats support Medicare for all. Over 60% support a Green New Deal, right? But that's not being played out in the leadership and in the way that the party rules when they're in power.
Yeah, actually, to build on that quick, it's The Case for an Independent Left Party is a really great ebook. You should definitely get that from the HowieHawkins.us website. And it's very short, but it has a really great summary of the history of socialist politics in the U.S., and in particular the Socialist Party. And that history is one reason why we have independent politics, our own independent party with our own independent ballot line, as a strategic principle and not just a tactic that can be, turned on and off whenever we want. It's because we've learned from history that is what's necessary to create a movement for eco-socialism. The Socialist Party was independent, and it funded itself not through the donations from the wealthy, but through membership dues. And that allowed it to maintain its independence, to keep up the struggle against the capitalist parties. And at its height, it had hundreds of Socialist Party members in state legislatures across the country, and even had a few members in Congress. I don't want to get too much into the history of that, but they were very influential, right? So we should learn from that history about what it takes to build an independent movement against capitalism. And one of those lessons is to maintain our independence.
Yeah, and we're working on something where we'll go more in depth into that actual piece, The Case for an Independent Left Party. And while we don't work with the duopoly, right, we do work with other left parties.
I think that's the next point.
That's the next slide. Cool. I will pause on that then.